DAC does support Bluetooth audio, so having a remote is definitely a plus for this DAC. And of course, you get a user manual with your DAC that goes over all the features and settings that you can set on your DAC. It does come with this USB-A to USB-B cable that you will use to connect this DAC up to your computer. You also get the standard power cable to connect it up to your wall outlet. Also included is this Bluetooth antenna. Since I mentioned the DAC does support Bluetooth, it's good to have this antenna for added range. And now let's take a closer look at the D400 Pro DAC. And here is the top of the DAC. And as far as build quality, this DAC is built solid. I mean, it's got a good amount of weight to it, and the construction materials are excellent, appear to be all metal as far as I can tell. It's got these 4 feet at the bottom to protect your desk. In the front, you have this nice volume dial that also acts as a button that you can press down. You also have this fully laminated tempered glass display panel, and I will turn it on in just a bit, but I did want to mention that this comes in both black and silver, so if you're interested in silver, you can get it in that color as well. So really quickly, before I turn on the D400 Pro, I'm going to take a look at the back input and output connections. And so taking a look at the back, starting on the left, we have the Bluetooth antenna, followed by some outputs. We have the right and left XLR output that you would use to connect up a balanced amplifier. Next in that, you have your unbalanced left and right connections. So that does it for the outputs. For the inputs, you have your 3-pin XLR connector for AES/EBU. Then you have your digital coaxial connection, as well as your Toslink optical connection. To the right of that, you have your USB-B connector, followed by a port for I2S that pretty much looks like a HDMI port. And then of course you have your connector for your power cable and this nice on and off switch. So I'm gonna go ahead and power on the SMSL D400 Pro so we can talk about some of its features. And here we see it booting up, and it actually boots up pretty quick. So it's got a nice bright display that shows you the output connection being used, as well as the decibels of the volume. And then on the top right here, it tells you whether you're playing PCM, DSD audio, or MQA, for example. Then you have your sampling rate as well as the input being currently used. So this D400 has a pretty nice sleek look. It's not too big that it's gonna take up all of your desk space. And it's got this really nice design here with these ridges that kind of makes it stand out. Especially if you get the silver one, I think it will look really good. Now, as far as the DAC chips being used on this, the D400 Pro uses the AK4499EX as well as the AK4191EQ. And it does fully support MQA as well as DSD audio. It's also equipped with low noise internal power supplies, which is going to provide for a much better sound with any sound artifacts. For the Bluetooth audio, it uses a high-end Qualcomm Bluetooth chip, and the effective range of that is about 0 to 15 meters. And the nice thing about this DAC is that the connectors here are all gold plated. So if you just hold this button down, it will power off the unit. And then if you just tap it once, it will turn on the unit, which is really nice. I'm really amazed at how fast this turns on. I'm not used to this as I have like some older DAC, so pretty impressive there. And if you want to access the menus to manipulate some of these settings, you just do a quick tap, and then you see here the different inputs that you can choose from. But let's stick with USB. And then if you rotate the dial to the right, you can access your outputs and then your filter. Let's go ahead and look at the filters. And so the nice thing about this DAC is that you have access to 7 different digital filters that really put you in control of how you want to listen to your music. So just looking through some of these filters, you have the sharp roll, the slow roll, the short sharp, the short slow, and the super slow, as well as the low dispersion filter. And so those are the filters available for the PCM filter, but you can also select your DSD filter, and you can select between wide or narrow. So you have that option as well. Then moving forward, you have your sound color, and you have 4 different options: sound 1, sound 2, 3, and 4. And then you have your pre-mode. You can select between variable, fixed, or fixed DSD bypass. So you can go ahead and select the mode that works best for you. And then you can select what the multifunction button does. You can either set it to Bluetooth, outputs, or phase. Then you have a setting for I2S mode. You can switch between normal and reverse. Then you have a setting for DSD channel swap, as well as a control for the phase inverter, whether you want it normal or inverted. And then you have your dimmer setting. You could set it to off, 5 seconds, or anything between that and 60 seconds. You have your brightness setting. So right now it's at 20%, but you can set it pretty high. So really nice, and it gets really bright. So that goes with the quality of the display, that it gets really bright. I mean, at 20%, I think it's perfect already. But if you do need it higher, you can set it. So I'll just leave it at 30, I think is good. And then you have an option here for reset. And so I would like to thank Opus Audio for sending me this unit out for my review. So I have been trying the SMSL D400 Pro with a flagship amplifier from iFi, and I found that I'm pretty impressed with the sound quality of this DAC. There's definitely a nice clean sound that this produces. And not only that, I feel like I'm getting much more bass in my music and hearing a lot more sound that I didn't hear before with my previous DAC. So yeah, if you guys are wondering about the sound quality of this, so far I am pretty impressed with it.